for those of you who don't know, this is a picture of Sally Ride, and she was the first female astronaut to go into space representing the United States. So while Sally was getting ready to go into space, preparing physically, mentally, and emotionally, NASA was also preparing to have their first woman into space. And a way that they did this was by giving Sally a string of 100 tampons. They were connected like sausages with one string running throughout and just all the tampons on there. And Sally was only going to be in space for 10 days. So for any woman who's familiar with the menstrual cycle, this is way too many tampons for one day. NASA also didn't bother questioning her if she would be menstruating in space or any of that. They didn't really take any of this into consideration. So menstruation and periods have really been in the news a lot as of late. This week in Newsweek, we have There Will Be Blood, get over it. I have the very same sentiment, and it talked about releasing the period stigma and that people are very caught up in menstruation and really don't need to be because it's a very prevalent topic in society. And then on April 1st, so just a while back, and this was published on April 1st, it drives me nuts because I think a lot of people may have seen it as an April Fool's joke. The New York Times published an article called The Tampon of the Future. And this was about a female scientist who's actually engineering tampons to be able to detect cervical cancer and is having a really hard time getting funding from men. So today I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about periods and I'm going to talk about menstruation. And this is also kind of a joke for me because I tried to give a speech about this about 6 months ago in a public speaking class, and I thought I was comfortable with the topic, and I actually wasn't comfortable, and every time I got nervous I said, I'm going to talk about it. So today I'm comfortable and I'm here and I am going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cover 3 different elements today: products, problems, and awareness. So products, just the general menstrual products, how they're used, what's going on. Problems, who can't get access to these products, who is having an issue globally, and then also awareness, what we can do to fix the period stigma. So moving on to $3.1 billion, this is how much money women spent in the US last year on menstrual products. And this does not include any painkillers, any heating pads, any like dark chocolate, any like minutes wasted calling to people. I mean, like, this is a lot of money, $3.1 billion. And globally, that number is 300 billion, which is crazy. And these are some of the menstrual products I'm talking about. We have various tampons and pads, the menstrual cup, that's really been a buzzword as of late. And the crazy thing is, these products are actually taxed under luxury goods. So for all the women here, this is not luxurious, and for any of the men here, could you imagine how this would be a luxury? It's not. So they're taxed under something called the tampon tax. And different countries are starting to end the tampon tax. Canada, for example, ended it in July, so go Canada. And it's not happened in the US yet, but we're working toward it. And what I'm kind of envisioning is like a redo of the Boston Tea Party, but it's Boston Tampon Party, and just women are just going to dump all their tampons into the harbor after not being able to deal with the tax anymore. And not only are these products considered luxury goods, but they're also very toxic. They're made of synthetic materials. The FDA does not require that the ingredients be listed on them because they're considered medical devices. So every month, women are actually putting bleach and synthetic materials into a very, very sensitive area of their bodies without any knowledge. So moving on to awareness, to problems, the homeless population in the United States actually faces a lot of problems. Many shelters don't stock menstrual products because of the expense. And so this leads homeless women to having a really big issue when it comes to dealing with their periods. Now, going abroad, we have problem of knowledge. So 62% of girls in India actually don't know about periods until it happens to them. This is a really big event in your life, and it's not addressed in school, and it's not addressed at home. So comics like this, the Menstrupedia comic, is actually are circulated throughout India to inform these girls of what's happening in their bodies before it happens. So moving from India all the way over to Africa, 1 in 10 girls in Africa will not go to school while she's on her period because she's missing the necessary supplies. This is really difficult because the less likely girls go to school, the more likely they are to drop out of school. And then this leads to decreased literacy rates, and then these women can't contribute to the global economy. And this is something that drives me nuts. The girls don't only not go to school because they don't have the correct supplies, but also because of the feelings associated with it. They're ashamed and they're embarrassed. And it drives me crazy because 50% of the population goes through this. And this isn't something to be embarrassed or to be nervous about. It's something to embrace, and this leads to life. So why are we so nervous to talk about it? It's so crazy. So like I said earlier, I'm going to talk about it, and you should too. Someone needs to give a voice to these girls who can't go to school, these girls who aren't informed about what's going on in their lives, and to really help to remove this stigma. And that's kind of my call to action and kind of where the awareness is going with this campaign. The good news is, if you see your degree up here, or any form of your degree, I know there are approximately 1 million acronyms here, you can do something. So IEMs, find a tampon that can dissolve in water. TLMs, localize a tampon brand. Do something, because you really have the powers that be. This education is expensive enough, and we need to put it to use. You can also be an ally when it comes to awareness. For those of you who don't know, this is Chance Ward, and he was mentioned at the end of March for being he's a student at Occidental College, and he was at the gym, and a female friend was complaining about being on her period, and he whipped a tampon out of his fanny pack, and she was stunned, and he was like, here, have it. And she was like, how is this happening? I'm so surprised. And women everywhere were really surprised about this. It's because for so long we've been told to be discreet about our periods. We've been shoving tampons up our sleeves and pads in our back pockets, carrying our tampons to the bathroom in a coffee mug. Like, why would this happen? There's no need to be discreet. We really don't need to do this. And it's really just frustrating to know that, we're still oppressed when it comes to this. So to, I guess, enhance this and to fix the stigma, give, collaborate, and talk. Now, there aren't millions of organizations that deal with this yet. I'm hoping that in the future there will be, but there are very many organizations that you can donate to. You can collaborate with each other between your groups, between men and women, and talk about it. I can talk about this all day and could afterwards too. So please talk about this. And I'm just, saying that everyone here has lived in all corners of the world, from huts to cities to villages to mountains and beaches. And the one thing in common is that women have been there and they've been dealing with menstruation. So what I'm asking you to do is to just be the solution, period.
Representing Club P.L.A.Y, which stands for Perform, Learn, Action, Yes. And today we're going to talk to you about a workshop we held about theater of the oppressed. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but hopefully after these 6 minutes you'll know a little bit.
So when you hear the word theater, what do you think of? Shout out some words.
Acting. Performance.
Okay. Shakespeare. Julie Andrews, Cats the Musical. To be or not to be. Yes? Jazz hands? Okay. Theater.
So, what do you think about when you hear the word oppression? Taxes?
Man.
Hunger, social change?
Bad.
Things like
Bad.
Bad
Shoes.
There's a theme here. Okay, so theater of the oppressed is not just men in dancing tights, and it's not just scenes of brutality. It's an arsenal of theater techniques designed by Augusto Boal in the 1970s in Brazil. And his ideas, his theory is inspired by the pedagogy of the oppressed by Paulo Freire. And we are going to talk to you about what it is. So theater of the oppressed hinges around this idea that all of us at any moment are both spectators and actors in our lives. So we have the power to get up and problem solve and look at conflicts in our communities, in our countries, in our world, and use creative solutions to figure out how to fix them. So unlike the spectators in this scene that are watching the nuclear bomb go off, theater of the oppressed challenges you to get up and be a spect actor and be involved in the changing process. And they call it a rehearsal for taking action. And that's what we're going to talk about. Oh, and so what did Theater of the Oppressed look like here at MIIS? It was a weekend workshop, a Saturday and Sunday. We brought down 2 facilitators from the Bay Area, and we spent 2 days learning some of these techniques, which we'll go into more detail about. We had about 35 participants from MIIS and CSUMB that came and participated in this.
So, to tell you a little bit about one of the theater of the oppressed techniques, image theater. I have this wonderful description for you. It consists of a physical representation of thoughts, ideas, observations through the raw expression of the body. Using your bodies and others' bodies as clay, participants make human sculptures. So what's that really mean? We froze in place, changed places, and moved each other around a bit. So we have a little, you push me, I'll push you back. My arms are just a little bit too heavy. And then some bromance. Got a little bromance.
So the second thing we focused on was something called forum theater. And forum theater is basically when a group gets together and they put together a scene of conflict. After the scene is presented to an audience members are then invited up to intervene and change the conflict into something positive. So there are a few rules around that, including how do you identify with the characters and go up and replace them. So we did 5 forum pieces. We did classroom oppression, mental illness,
Donald
Trump.
Trump.
I kind of want to forget that one. And then we actually focused on the last 2, which were male hegemony and rape culture, and systemic racism. So in this example, we're at a bar scene, and Ryan was our audience member who intervened and was helping Katie out. In this situation, we're in a classroom setting, and the teacher is being overly aggressive about racism, and so the student, Brianna, sort of stands up as an ally in order to help the situation move forward. So again, the idea is that you're replacing a character you identify with.
So theater of the oppressed is relevant not just in grad school, but in the world. It's being used all over as we speak now. In fact, in 2013, there was the first Theater of the Oppressed conference in South Asia, with all of these countries representing Theater of the Oppressed troops coming and talking about their work. And so all of them, they're using these participatory action research methods to enact real change in their communities. And a great example of this is from India, a group called Jana Sanskriti, and they've been around since 1985, and they're going into villages and addressing issues of corruption, displacement, domestic violence, rights to education, and they're actually making such an impact that leaders are now coming to them to get votes.
So now we're actually going to do a forum demonstration for you, and then we're going to have an audience member come up and participate. So there are a few rules to keep in mind. 1, you can only replace or add a character that you identify with, so someone you would be in that situation. You have to, so that means you have to be yourself. 2nd, no magic. It has to be a real scene. And there can only be 1 intervention at a time, so only 1 audience member will get to come up and to participate. So we're gonna give you a scene. Ready? Oh my God, April is late again.
Oh, that's how it always is.
3. It is the iterative process. Iterative.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry I'm late. I was in another group meeting. I hate grad school.
Oh my God, April, we're already halfway done with the paper.
All right, so who thinks they can volunteer to replace one of these characters? Who has been in a similar scene and thinks they have an idea of a way to fix this small oppression in the group meeting? Anyone? You have very few seconds to volunteer. Anyone? Just takes a few seconds. Okay. Alie! Alie, who would you like to replace?
Okay, I'll replace you.
Okay, great. So same scene, we're just gonna do our intervention. Yep.
Okay. Do you know what April is? Have you heard from her?
I don't think I got an email from her or
Okay.
anything.
Okay. How's it going over there?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry I'm late. I was at another group meeting. Grad school's really stressful. I hate it.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, are you ready to get into things here?
Could you guys give me like 10 minutes to like go to the bath?
Yeah, of course. Take care of yourself. Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool.
Alright. Good. So, what did Alie do in this scene to help alleviate the stress? And she kind of checked in, right, and like gave me some space, and it actually made me react differently. So that was Theater of the Oppressed in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. There's a lot more to it, but we hope you got an idea of it, and yeah, see the relevance of it in the future.
Yeah.
Woo!
I'm Alie Jones. This is my second semester at MIIS. I'm a public administration student. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my journey in finding my light. And this is me in 8th grade. In 8th grade, I started wearing makeup. I grew 3 inches, lost 20 pounds, and was bullied for the entire year. I was bullied to the point where I never talked. And for those of you who know me not talking, that sounds like crazy talk. So I was shy. I would sit in the front of classes and I would never say anything. Teachers would call on me and I would say 1 or 2 words and then immediately go back into my little hermit shell. So in high school, I had this, battle with myself. I really want to get out more, but I really am still so shy. And I kind of challenged myself to get involved in theater. And when I did that, it was like a whole new world appeared. I met so many people who had similar ideas. I wasn't alone. I wasn't, this weird person that everyone made me think I was in middle school. And that just gave me a voice I didn't have. So I was looking in college. I was like, what am I going to do? Who am I? Like, what does all of this mean? What are my passions? And then I found film. And I decided, okay, I want to be a director, a writer. Like, I could do that. And with that, I was like, well, how do I do that? Where do I start? What do I do? Where do I go? And especially since I wasn't really seeing myself as a leader. At CCUMB, I was involved in the environmental committee, and that catalyst into my activism. I was an environmentalist before I was a womanist, before I had my Black identity strong in me. And that helped me see myself as a leader. It helped me really claim who I was. With this, I also was able to go to a leadership retreat called Leadership, where we basically constructed our vision of an ideal world and looked at small steps to make that happen. For me, that was through film. So seeing that and learning that, I was like, wow, there's so many things I want to do, so many ways for me to do it, where before I was holding myself back and not letting myself be the person that I always wanted to be. So I found myself at this intersection of all of my identities, wondering, am I just this one or am I just that one? Do I have to be just one? I was like, no, you can be all of them at the same time wherever you are. So I found Vagina Monologues, and for those of you who don't know, it's a social action piece consisting of several monologues with women from age 6 to 72 with various experiences. And in that, I was surrounded by beautiful, strong, empowered women who helped me see that I was a beautiful, strong, empowered woman. Years of being involved with that was really influential in seeing how impactful theater can be. How people think that theater is, it's just entertainment. But no, there's so many messages that can be received. It also helped me become more of an ally. It helped me come into other places. I was involved with the P.L.A.Y project, which is another social action piece about a gay teen who was killed due to a hate crime. And I learned about this, and I learned more about this issue that I had never been versed in, coming from a Baptist family. So when it came time for me to create, I thought, well, I want to create something that I would watch, that my friends would watch, that would really engage everyone. So my senior capstone was a TV show called Mind Over Matter. And it was really great to kind of finally give myself that power and embrace all of my identities. Being a director and understanding the way that things work and the way that people work was something that I kind of hadn't let myself do. I kind of put myself in the background a lot. And being a director, you're so hands-on. You're so there. You're doing all this stuff. I wrote, directed, and produced that. And I had this light bulb moment. I was like, wow, this is really fun. I like this. People seem really engaged with this. My friends are loving this. It wasn't just this thing inside of my head that I was keeping to myself. It was something that I shared with people. And I saw that sharing it and embracing who I was really instrumental. So more than me embracing myself, I went to France, which was a huge leap. I was battling myself back and forth as to whether or not I should go. So I did. And while I was there, I found myself engulfed in the culture and the language and theater, of course. Theater's never too far. And of course, I saw vagina monologues while I was there. And to see it in French, to see vagina monologues in French was the most interesting. 3 women on stage where I'd seen casts of 20 and 30 perform this entire show. 3 women did it, and it was spectacular. It was so amazing. So I'm in my living room in France. This picture is from my living room. I was just sitting there and I snapped it. And I was like, wow, like, what am I doing here? Like, what's next? Like, where's my life going? And how do I embrace every part of myself in that? So I was like, okay, well, I think I need to do what makes me tick. And in my theater class, the professor would come up to us and he'd say, like, qui est disponible? And disponible means available. So who's available? Who's going to be available and present in their life today, in this moment? And learning that and just kind of that whole practice, it was silly, it was fun, but it also got us out of our shells. It helped us engage in the language more. And for me, it kind of let me see that I should let a little more light in, that I am the photographer, that I control my life and what happens and how it affects me, rather than how other people view me, which is really important. So I would like to encourage all of you to find your light and stay in it, because it's really important. You need to embrace it for you. And
Communicating with. Where. When.
Okay, let's keep going, let's keep going.
Which? What? Body is earth. We participate in a moving universe. Ecstatic states happen when we connect to things larger than the self. body. $7.4 billion human bodies on the planet to feed. My friend says it's not just body. There's so much more. Another friend said, don't think, just move. But thinking is moving, moving is thinking. When? Where? What? What can we count on? Communicating with whole body intelligence. % of communication is nonverbal, embodied. Here,